The shocking vitamin deficiency stopping seniors from climbing stairs today. You won't believe it. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting eerie shadows across the small, quiet town of Maplewood. Whispers filled the air, a buzz of mounting electricity. A strange illness was sweeping through, one that defied logic and left doctors scratching their heads. A vitamin deficiency was ravaging the elderly, causing them to struggle with the simplest task, climbing stairs. And it was more mysterious than anyone knew. They say it started with Mrs. Hargrove, the beloved librarian. One moment she was organizing book drives, the next she was gripping the banister for dear life, her hands trembling as if the wood itself had turned to ice. The townsfolk watched in horror as she stumbled, gasping for breath as she fought to ascend the staircase in her own home. Then came Mr. Jenkins, the sprightly 80-year-old who never missed his morning jog. Concern etched into his weathered face as he found himself stranded on the first step, legs refusing to move just inches above the ground. His heart raced, panic set in. He'd spent years touting the importance of vitamins and nutrition, only to be brought down by an unseen foe. Soon, stories spread like wildfire. More seniors appeared at the town's clinic, exhausted and frightened. Vitality was evaporating. By the week's end, a cloud of despair hung over Maplewood. No one could pinpoint the cause, and each failed theory fanned the flames of suspicion. Was it the water? Contaminated soil? Or something darker lurking in the shadows? Each day left the community more unsettled, their limbs heavy, hearts racing, as they watched their loved ones fade. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The town became a pressure cooker of anxiety. Each face in the crowd mirrored fear, betrayal, and urgency. Could someone or something be poisoning their community? What if they were next? The tension crackled in the air as Mrs. Hargrove and Mr. Jenkins were joined by others cornered by their own bodies, eyes wide with panic, whispers of the vitamin curse trailing behind them. The clock was ticking. The stakes were rising. What had turned their lives upside down? And then, in the midst of this turmoil, a strange envelope appeared outside the clinic, unmarked, heavy with possibilities. Could it hold the key to unraveling this mystery? Or would it plunge the townsfolk further into darkness? They gathered around it, hearts pounding, gazes locked. As the envelope quivered in the cool breeze, everyone wondered the same thing. Who sent it? And what would it unveil? Tension hung thick in the air as the townsfolk clustered around the mysterious envelope, an unspoken urgency gripping them. Mrs. Hargrove's trembling hands reached out first, but then she hesitated. The whispers grew louder, anxiety piercing the silence. What if it's a trap? Mr. Jenkins breathed, glancing around at the others, his voice barely above a whisper, echoing thoughts on everyone's mind. Faces were pale, and eyes darted nervously. Time seemed to slow as they gathered the courage to act. Gathering her strength, Mrs. Hargrove tore at the envelope carefully, each rip of paper sounding like a thunderclap amidst their fearful murmurs. A single sheet of paper slipped out, fluttering to the ground like a leaf caught in a sudden gust. Bending down, she snatched it up, her heart thumping in her chest. The words were scrawled hastily, almost illegibly. The cure you seek is found in the soil, but beware the price. Not all are free. Gasps erupted among the group. What does that mean? A voice broke through the murmurs, filled with dread. Mrs. Hargrove's eyes amplified the panic. The soil? What if it's not just contaminated water? What if it's something deeper? What if her voice faltered as her mind raced with implications? They all understood there was a link, something suspicious underfoot. Across the street, a neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, peeked out from behind her curtains, fear etched on her face. The truth was gnawing at her, much like a rat scurrying for scraps in the dark. She had been one to dismiss the first signs, but now she felt the weight of regret that had settled in her chest. "What do we do?" someone shouted, breaking the tension. "We must find out if the soil is tainted," another replied, fear hovering in the air like smoke. Yet as they debated, the reality loomed. What lay beneath their feet could be the very culprit turning their lives upside down. They decided an emergency meeting would be called at the community center. How many more would collapse before they found answers? The group broke apart hesitantly, each whispering fears to their loved ones, urgency coursing through their veins. As night fell, Maplewood surrendered to an unsettling quiet. Shadows danced in the corners of rooms, reflecting more than just darkness, but a deepening dread. The community was on the brink now, each day dwindling their hope, leaving nothing but sickened limbs and restless minds. At the clinic, however, a different conversation was brewing. Dr. Willard buried his face in case files, reports of other towns echoing warnings of an unusual vitamin deficiency. But as he looked closer, he found parallels. Many had neglected the soil where foods grew, the very roots that nurtured their lives. Resonating echoes of thoughts whispered in the night felt like an intrusion. Could it be true? Just then, a loud crash came from the back storage room, rattling the clinic's serenity. Dr. Willard stood still, heart racing, the shadow of an intruder just out of sight. Breath caught in his throat, he could feel the pulse of futility rising. What was lurking in the corners of this town? And could the soil reveal more than just a deficiency? As he moved cautiously towards the noise, a shiver ran down his spine. Would he uncover the truth, or something far darker? Stay tuned, because the very foundation of Maplewood might not just be in danger, but each of them as well. Dr. Willard pushed open the door to the storage room, the creaking of hinges echoing like a silent scream in the still clinic. The dim light flickered nervously, casting ominous shadows that danced across piles of old medical supplies. He squinted into the darkness, searching for the source of the noise. "Hello?" he called out, his voice shaky against the backdrop of uneasy silence. The air felt heavier, charged with a sense of foreboding. As he stepped inside, the door swung shut behind him with a soft thud, sealing him away from the world just outside. Suddenly, a scuffle erupted in the corner, a flurry of movement that set Dr. Willard's heart racing. He felt his instincts kick in, adrenaline coursing through him as he moved toward the noise. His mind raced back to the letter, the words about soil and hidden truths. Could there be an answer here? Or was there danger lurking like a predator ready to strike? In the corner, a shadow shifted, and he barely made out the figure of a person crouched low, fingers clawing at something on the floor. "Stop!" he shouted, the authority of his voice cutting through the tension. But the figure froze, then turned slowly, eyes wide with fear. It was a young woman, barely in her 20s, filthy and ragged. "Don't come any closer!" she shrieked, panic coating her terror. Dr. Willard halted instinctively, unsure whether to reach out or retreat. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently, hands up, trying to show he meant no threat. "Why are you in here? What are you doing?" Her gaze darted around the room, restless and wild. "You need to leave," she warned, her voice shaking. "They're coming. They know you're looking for the truth. You're all in danger." "What are you talking about?" he pressed, searching for clarity in this madness. "Who is coming? What danger?" She was trembling now, and Dr. Willard could see dark smudges under her eyes, signs of exhaustion, but also desperate resolve. "The soil, it's worse than you think. They don't want you to find out something growing in it, something toxic. She retreated backward, clutching a small, leather-bound journal to her chest as if it were her lifeline. What do you mean? Explain, he demanded, feeling urgency seep into the room. But before she could respond, the clinic's main door swung open with a force that sent a jolt through their stillness. A group of men entered, townspeople with an intensity in their expressions that promised trouble. Dr. Willard recognized them. Mr. Jenkins, a firm hand of the community, and others who had once led the call to investigate the soil's secrets. What is going on in here? Mr. Jenkins barked, the authority in his voice disrupting the fragile atmosphere. The young woman flinched, stepping further into the shadows. Doctor Willard opened his mouth to explain, but the young woman interrupted him, her voice small yet fierce. You'll regret this. You want to be able to bury the truth? What truth? Jenkins shot back, eyeing her suspiciously. She scowled defiantly. In the soil lies your downfall. And they've sent me to warn you. Dr. Willard shifted uncomfortably. This was spiraling out of control. The urgency in her voice, was she telling the truth or just lost in paranoia? Before he could ponder further, the lights flickered again and abruptly went out, plunging the room into darkness. Panic erupted. He heard shouts, clashes as people stumbled and bumped into each other. Get the lights on, yelled Jenkins, and Dr. Willard felt the walls closing in, fear biting at his resolve. Where was the girl? The tension in the air thickened, thick as the soil they feared. Something was stirring beneath their feet, in the shadows that fled into the corners and darkened corners of their understanding. And just like that, the door slammed shut again, locking them all in, uncertain if they'd find the truth or a frightening new reality, with the weight of secrets threatening to crush them, who would uncover the first fracture in the fragile foundation of Maplewood. And were they truly ready for what lay below? Dr. Willard's heart pounded in the suffocating darkness. The air crackled with tension as he struggled to make sense of the chaos around him. The sudden darkness had stripped away more than just the light. It had shattered any sense of safety. He strained his ears to pick up fragmented shouts and whispers, but the panic had taken over, a dark tide rising relentlessly. Everyone stay calm, Dr. Willard called into the void, his voice a thin thread in the cacophony. We need to get the lights back on. Just then, he heard the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps, silhouetted figures moving erratically. Mr. Jenkins' voice came rasping through the confusion. What do you think you're doing? Get away from her. Stop, Dr. Willard shouted. She is not a threat. The woman, what was her name? Had disappeared completely. Anxiety clawed at him. Had they somehow hurt her? Or had she fled into the shadows, leaving him to face these angry townspeople alone? The lights flickered on for a horrifying moment, bathing the storage room in a sickly glow. Dr. Willard caught a glimpse of her crouching in the far corner, hands clutching her journal protectively. Then darkness rushed back in, plunging everything into a suffocating blackness. Jenkins, Dr. Willard choked out. We have to find her. But his words fell into the surrounding panic. He could feel the weight of the townsfolk's gazes, a mix of suspicion and fear. More footsteps echoed, and someone collided with him. He reached out instinctively, grabbing a shoulder before pulling away. Sorry, he stammered. His fingers brushed against cool, damp skin. Willard? Is that you? Came another voice, trembling and breathless. It was Tammy, a nurse from the clinic. I can barely see anything. What is happening? They're not going to understand. The urgency in her tone cut through his fear. We have to suddenly. A loud crash interrupted her. Someone had stumbled into a stack of crates, the clatter reverberating like a gunshot. Get her! Someone shouted in command, but it was unclear who they were talking about. Dr. Willard fought against the rising tide of voices, trying to drown them out. Listen, We need to stick together. We can't let fear blind us. His words were met with a chorus of chaos, each person reacting to the unseen threat, voices rising with accusations. In the chaos, a scream pierced the dark, a gut-wrenching, raw sound that sent chills down his spine. Is that? Stay back. The lights flickered again, revealing a brief scene of chaos. The townspeople were struggling, grappling with one another, as shadows darted around the room. He caught sight of the girl, the brief glint of her eyes reflecting distress as she clung to something tight against her. The journal. What did you find? Dr. Willard shouted, desperation clawing at him as he pushed through the fray, reaching for her. I was trying, she gasped, to show you the truth. And just like that, the lights went out completely. A collective gasp echoed. All at once, in the pitch-black room, a low rumbling began, almost like a growl rumbling from the very walls around them. It was deep and ominous, a sound that felt alive. What is that? Dr. Willard whispered, his voice barely escaping his lips. Fear coiled tight in his chest, poisoning his thoughts. The others huddled closer, and he felt their fear mingling with his, palpable and suffocating as shadows danced about them in an unseen symphony of chaos. They're coming for you, the woman shouted suddenly, voice cracking as the shadows bowed to the will of whatever menaced them from the darkness. A shuddering sound erupted just beyond the door, something heavy dragged across the floor, threatening to break down the barrier of safety they so desperately sought. Dr. Willard's mind raced. What lay behind that door? What truth was so terrifying it had to be buried beneath layers of panic? And in that instant, he knew he had to uncover the mystery, no matter the cost. But would he? Would they all make it through the darkness alive? As the rumble intensified, one thought struck him more fiercely than the rest. This wasn't just about the soil anymore. This was about survival. What horrors awaited them outside the room, and could they face whatever came next? The darkness pressed in like a living entity, smothering all attempts at rational thought. Every breath felt heavy, laden with dread. Dr. Willard's heart raced, in sync with the menacing rumble reverberating around them. Panic surged through the gathering. Whispers turned to gasps, then to a chorus of murmurs, each person grappling with their own terror. Get to the door, he barked, his voice barely a beacon amid the growing hysteria. He felt Tammy tugging at his sleeve, her eyes wide with fear. It's not safe. We can't go out there, she shouted back, her voice trembling. He could see the shadows shifting, swirling like dark smoke infused with intent, as if some unseen force awaited them just beyond the door. But something deeper rooted in him, an insatiable curiosity, pushed him towards that darkness. Why were they still here? Why, amidst the danger, did he need to uncover the truth she had spoken of? He caught a glimpse of the girl again, just as a cleaving scream tore through the chaos, louder than before. A man had collapsed. Jenkins. Dr. Willard realized that low growl growing more pronounced, more violent. What do we do? Tammy asked, clutching his arm as fear danced in her eyes. Stay close. We need to gather everyone, he said, steeling himself against the unknown. He spotted Jenkins sprawled on the ground, panting as though he had just run a race. We can't let them divide us. Stick together. His voice wove through the frightened masses, yet he felt the grip of tragedy tightening. The girl's terrified gaze, those wide, glimmering eyes haunted him. Each flicker of light seemed to pull a thread between them, an understanding yet to be formed. Help him, someone shouted. The call to action broke through the panic, pulling a few to Jenkins' side, while others recoiled in fear. Dr. Willard moved instinctively toward him, landing on his knees beside the fallen man. Jenkins, can you hear me? His breaths were labored, chest rising and falling harshly, but fear still glimmered in his eyes. The rumble grew louder, shaking the very ground beneath them, as if an earthquake had blossomed beneath their feet, threatening to swallow them all. It's coming, Jenkins gasped, his grip on Dr. Willard's arm tightening as shadows flickered and danced, forming shapes in the dark. You have to find her, the girl. Before Dr. Willard could respond, the lights erupted into a blinding blaze. In that instant, they could truly see the chaos that surrounded them. Figures were frozen mid-action, some pointing towards the door, others shielding themselves from a threat that lurked just beyond their grasp. "She knows what we need to do," Tammy shouted, breaking through the disorientation to focus on the girl clinging to her journal. But the moment was fleeting. The brightness faded with an abruptness that sent them spiraling back into darkness. "Don't let go of me," he urged Tammy, and in the rush of bodies, he caught the girl's frantic movements, a shadow darting amidst chaos. "They're not afraid of the dark, they're afraid of her," she cried, injuring the already splintered strain of their panic. The low rumble morphed into something else, a deeper, feral growl that vibrated through the air, curling around Dr. Willard's throat like a vice. "Get that door open." Dr. Willard felt the surge of adrenaline. They needed to break free, to unveil what lay beyond. It was a choice: face the darkness or accept the suffocation of fear, and just as the pressure reached a peak, the door broke open, revealing a narrow passageway wrapped in inky blackness. Something lurked in there, hiding just beyond the threshold, waiting for the moment they dared to take the first real step. "Are we really going to see what's out there?" Tammy whispered, her voice barely audible. The weight of the question hung heavy in the charged air, as each person wrestled their own fears against the impending unknown. "What if we don't?" Dr. Willard's voice shook. "What if staying means we won't survive this?" As he glanced back at the terrified townsfolk, a rising wave of determination surged through him. There was no choice left to make. They were on the brink of revelation or oblivion. He took a deep breath, readying himself. "On three," he murmured cautiously. Their eyes met in shared determination, and in that moment, a flicker of courage ignited among them. What would greet them beyond that threshold? Would it unveil truths that could save or doom them all? And in that uncertain instant, everything hung in the balance. The tension in the air was thick enough to slice. Dr. Willard's eyes darted between the huddled masses and the looming doorway. They were teetering on the edge, standing against a darkness that felt alive, its breath hot against their skin. He could hear their hearts thudding, a collective drumbeat of fear and courage. On three, his voice trembled, vibrating with a mix of terror and adrenaline. The countdown hung in the air like a fragile thread. 1, 2, before he could deliver the final blow, a heavy gust swept through the door. It pulled at their clothes, chilling their bones, and the growl intensified. It felt like the very foundation of the building quaked, shaking loose a sense of reality. His pulse quickened with each tremor, as he fought the instinct to run. 3. They surged forward together, thrusting through the threshold into the unknown. Instantly, a shift occurred. The inky darkness morphed, swirling around them like a living thing. Dr. Willard squinted, struggling to discern the shapes lurking just out of reach. Snatches of whispers brushed against his ear, half-formed words in a language he couldn't place. Dr. Willard. He turned at the sound of Tammy's voice, her frantic fingers pointing deeper into the abyss. But as he looked, the shadows seemed to shift and writhe, twisting into something grotesque. A pair of glimmering eyes, sharp as daggers, stared back at him from the depths. "Stop!" he shouted, halting the group. "Can you see that?" He tried to steady his breath, but fear clawed at his insides. Jenkins's scream echoed behind them, pulling their attention back. His body was writhing on the ground, the shadows creeping closer, hungry and insatiable. "It's got me!" he gasped, panic taking over. Get it off!" Willard's heart raced. He took a step back, then another, overwhelmed by the unfathomable force he could barely understand. It was a formidable grip on his mind, threatening to pull him into an abyss of despair. He could see the fear in the eyes surrounding him, mirrored back as they collectively faced their worst nightmare. "We have to help him," Tammy urged, her voice cutting through the static of dread. "No, don't go back," Dr. Willard shouted, urgency driving his words. "It's a trap. We need to find the girl." But the group hesitated, torn between loyalty and fear. And just then, a bright light pierced through the shadows, a beacon illuminating the dark. The girl materialized from the depths, clutching her journal to her chest, a determined expression painted across her youthful face. "Follow me," she commanded, her voice slicing through the chaos. "She'll protect us." Compelled by something greater than fear, they moved towards her, the darkness retreating momentarily, like a wave falling back from the shore. Suddenly, the world around them pulsed with color and sound, creating an imagined landscape filled with warmth and safety. But the relief was fleeting. Shadows gathered once more, swirling eagerly around Jenkins, who was still fighting to escape their grasp. Everything teetered on a knife's edge. Dr. Willard. Tammy clawed at his jacket. "What do we do?" He wrestled with the weight of their choices. Was it worth the risk to save one soul when they were all in peril? This isn't just about us," he rasped, feeling the weight of the moment push against his chest. "If we don't face it together, we may lose everything." Tension coiled tighter, and amidst the chaos, the girl's voice rang out clearly, commanding the shadows to shrink back. "You have to trust me." Gathering every ounce of valor, Dr. Willard stepped forward. "Then let us do this together." With a surge of energy, they moved toward the girl, hearts united against the encroaching tide. But the moment felt charged with foreboding, a harbinger of something darker lurking just beneath the surface. Yet as they advanced, the walls began to shift, vibrating, almost alive. What horrors awaited them in this place still cloaked in shadow? They crossed the threshold, and then everything exploded around them, plunging into unforeseen chaos. What would they uncover next? What truths would plead for their awakening, even amid despair? The darkness roared. A whirlwind of whispers filled the air, echoing menacingly, drowning out reason. As they pushed further into the void, the world continued to dissolve around them, the once familiar walls warping into intimidating shapes. "Keep moving," the girl shouted again, her confidence clashing with the rising panic. Dr. Willard felt his breath hitch in disbelief. The shadows were more than just darkness, they seemed to take form, curling like serpents, ready to strike. He glanced back at Jenkins, his figure swallowed whole, the screams fading away as hope seemed to seep from the space. "Jenkins!" Tammy cried, tears glistening in her eyes. "We can't just leave him." But the girl shook her head. "He can't come with us. Not yet. He has to confront his fears alone." Every instinct within Dr. Willard screamed for him to turn back, to try and pull Jenkins out from the throes of despair gripping him. "What are you saying? We can't abandon him." The girl's gaze pierced through the shadows, unwavering. "We are on a path only some can travel. If we don't keep moving, we'll all be lost." Tammy's grip on Dr. Willard tightened, her eyes pleading. "What if we can't get back? What if he needs us?" Dr. Willard swallowed hard, wrestling with the weight of leadership. "If we turn back, we may all end up like him, or worse." He looked into the darkness, feeling it tug at his soul, as if trying to claim him like it had Jenkins. The truth hit him. They couldn't afford to falter now, not with the unknown ahead. With a resolute nod, he turned to the girl. "Lead the way." The shadows hissed and writhed, swarming but failing to touch them as they moved deeper into the unknown. Light swirled around the girl, a protective aura pushing back against the darkness, yet the growling faintly persisted, like a predator lurking nearby. "Be careful," she whispered, leading them down twisting paths that seemed to ebb and flow like a river. "There are traps everywhere, designed to break you down." They pressed on, hearts pounding in rhythm, adrenaline coursing through their veins. The flickering light illuminated the swirling blackness just enough to reveal fleeting images, moments of despair and regret, haunting memories conjured by the shadows. Tammy gasped suddenly, pointing. "Look! That's me!" The specter of herself loomed just beyond, mouth open in a silent scream, pain etched across her face. "Keep your eyes forward," Dr. Willard urged, clenching his fists. "It's not real." "Dr. Willard, I can't," she faltered, stumbling. "Fight it," he shouted. "We can't stop now. We have to stay together." The girl turned, her face grim but determined. "The only way to defeat them is to face what haunts you. Don't let it own you." In that moment, a flurry of memories engulfed him, 2 lost dreams, failures, faces of loved ones gone. Each memory clawed at him, begging for acknowledgement. The weight of them threatened to crush him, but he stood tall, remembering the stakes. "Together," he yelled, reaching out for Tammy, pulling her back to solid ground. With a surge of collective defiance, they stepped forward as one, the strength of their unity pushing back the darkness. Suddenly, another scream echoed, far louder, intensifying the chaos. "Get out of my head!" Jenkins's voice rang clear, mingled with sheer terror. The ground trembled, shifting beneath them. "We have to go," the girl shouted, urgency spiking the air. "Where?" Dr. Willard asked, a lump forming in his throat. "Wherever the light shines." But where was the light in a world drowning in shadows? Would they make it in time, or was the abyss about to reclaim them all? As they raced forward into the unknown, every heartbeat felt like a countdown to salvation or doom. What awaited them in the heart of the shadows? The darkness pressed in around them, thick and suffocating, every step weighted with dread. Dr. Willard could hear the echo of Jenkins's scream carving through the void, each note laced with desperation. His heart pounded like a war drum in his chest, but he couldn't afford to stumble. Not now. "Why doesn't the light come?" Tammy gasped, her breath ragged as they moved forward. The girl's glow flickered, illuminating the jagged path just enough for them to navigate. Yet, the shadows seemed alive, twisting and curling as if they were sentient beings intent on dragging them down into despair. "Keep your focus," the girl shouted, forcing them onward. "Think of the light. We must reach it." Dr. Willard clenched his jaw, the image of Jenkins fading into the background of his mind. He couldn't let the despair seep in. Yet, with every step, doubt gnawed at him. What if they couldn't save Jenkins? What if they lost themselves in this nightmarish abyss? Thick shadows leaped at the edges of their vision, whispering tales of failure and loss, clawing at their resolve. "I don't want to see that." "Shut it out!" Tammy shouted suddenly, pressing her hands to her ears as if that could block the tormenting voices. "It's not real, Tammy. Focus on us on the way out," he yelled back, reaching for her, grounding her as they stumbled forward together. But the deeper they plunged into the darkness, the more the memories twisted back to haunt them. Shapes morphed around them, rippling like water in a tempest, transforming into faces of their past broken promises, regression, each one a dagger aimed at their hearts. "I can't," Tammy's voice strangled with emotion. "It's all too much. I can't keep going." The girl's voice cut through the fog, but even she seemed strained. "We're almost there." Suddenly, Dr. Willard's vision blurred, and before him lay a fork in the path, a gaping maw of shadows on the left and a flickering light on the right. "Which way?" he shouted, panic rising like bile in his throat. "The light," the girl cried, as if sensing his hesitation. But then a shadow cascaded from the left, fast and terrifying, morphing into a figure, Jenkins. His eyes were wild with fear, shadows crawling over him like a dark shroud. "Help! You have to help me!" His voice shattered like glass, splitting the air and sending a wave of dread crashing over them. "Jenkins! Tammy screamed, rushing toward the silhouette, desperation in her eyes. "Don't! Stay back!" Dr. Willard shouted, pulling her closer, fear tightening his grip on her arm. He felt the darkness claw at his own mind, and the shadow of Jenkins writhed, distorting and flickering. "It's a trap!" But Tammy broke free, sobbing, "No!" He is suffering. "No! Wait!" Dr. Willard lunged after her, heart racing, but the girl grabbed his wrist, her grip tight. "We can't! I can't watch this! We have to save him! Tammy, we can't, it'll consume us!" The darkness swirled violently around them, snatching at their ankles. A low growl reverberated from the shadows, hunger underlying the deep resonance. "You have to choose," the girl urged through gritted teeth. "The light or the shadows?" Dr. Willard's chest tightened painfully as the shadows flickered, revealing more grotesque images of what could have been. He could feel Jenkins' presence, tangible and real, but so was the risk, the reality of their situation. "Let us go!" the girl yelled. "What about Jenkins?" Tammy's voice cracked. "Jenkins has to find his way, he can't drag us down." Dr. Willard felt torn, but time was slipping away. The shadows pulsed, restless and alive, as if sensing his indecision. "Remember what the girl said? Only together can we defeat them." The choice loomed in front of him, heavy and suffocating. But then, another scream pierced the air, louder and more terrifying than before. It was Jenkins again, but this time it was different, more visceral, more real. The darkness trembled as if shaking in response. "Dr. Willard," the girl pleaded, her voice barely a stage whisper amidst the ominous roar. Time seemed to splinter. Did they step into the light, or did they risk it all to pull Jenkins from the shadows? The fracture at the heart of his decision quaked wildly, and then came the chilling understanding that the light might not lead to safety but deeper into a confrontation they were not ready for. Would stepping into the light uncover their deepest fears, or finally open the path to salvation? As the shadows writhed closer, eyes glinting with malice, Dr. Willard knew time was running out. Would they go after Jenkins, or trust in the uncertain promise of light? The choice felt like a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. What choice would they make in the next step? Dr. Willard stood at the precipice of panic. The scream echoed again, wrenching at his guts. It was pure horror in Jenkins' voice, and agony that clawed at the very fabric of his resolve. He could see Jenkins clearly now, the figure half buried in shadows, wretched and trembling. "Now!" the girl shouted, urgency dripping from her words. "We must choose!" The girl's glow pulsed, casting long, lunging shadows across the ground. They danced dangerously close to where Jenkins stood, and Dr. Willard felt the tug of despair pulling him toward that familiar figure. "Tammy, we can't risk it," he shouted, yet his own voice was thick with doubt. Every fiber of his being screamed that they had to help. But the girl's grip was firm on his wrist, her gaze fierce. "Listen to me," she implored. "He is not the same. He is trapped in darkness. If we go to him, we become just like him." Tammy shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. "But he is my brother. I'll never let him suffer alone." "Your love is strong," the girl said, "but shadows twist the heart. You don't want to lose yourself in his pain." "Not again." The words hung in the air, heavy with truth. Dr. Willard felt his heart racing, torn between pressing forward to save Jenkins and retreating into the light. The tension between them pulsed like a live wire, driving him to the brink of decision. "Okay," he yelled suddenly, the weight of his choice pressing on him like a physical force. "We go into the light. That's what we need right now." Tammy's face contorted in shock. "But Jenkins has to find his own way," Dr. Willard shouted over her protests. "We can't save him if we lose ourselves in the process." The shadows hissed angrily, responding to his defiance. and icy gusts swept around them, sending shudders through their limbs. It echoed disappointment, a sinister promise that they could yet be consumed. "Stay close," the girl shouted as they began to move toward the flickering light, their footsteps shaky but determined amidst the chaos. But every stride felt like scaling a mountain, each step weighed down by regret and fear. They pressed onward, the light drawing them in like moths, illuminating their path with hope-streaked brilliance. Behind them, Jenkins's scream filled the air again, more desperate than before, a raw, haunting wail that resonated deep in their bones, urging them to turn back. "Dr. Willard, you can't leave me!" Jenkins cried, his voice raw and shrill, each syllable a knife twisting in their hearts. "Keep going!" the girl yelled, pushing them with urgency. "We're almost there." And then Tammy stumbled, her balance lost to the cacophony of darkness behind them. She gripped Dr. Willard's arm, her face pale. "I can't leave him. I can't." "Do you want to become him?" Dr. Willard snapped, feeling the grip of panic suffocating him. "You need to make this choice." Tammy looked torn, her eyes darting between the flickering light and the shadows. And then she wrenched free from his grasp. "I'm going back." "Tammy!" Her name echoed through the void, a desperate attempt to pull her back, but she was already sprinting toward the darkness. The shadows pulsed, devouring her steps, reaching out like midnight fingers. "Wait! Don't!" he screamed, but it was too late. She vanished into the murk, swallowed whole by the darkness. "What have you done?" the girl hissed, the urgency of their escape sparking fury in her tone. Dr. Willard felt the cold grip of despair wrap around his heart. With a heavy chest, he realized he had lost her, their fragile bond shattered in the moment of hesitation. "We have to go now," the girl urged, dragging him further into the light. As they fled, he could still hear Jenkins's desperate pleas. The horrifying realization struck him. Was the risk to save his friend worth losing the light forever? Would they escape this nightmare, or was there another trap waiting for them? Behind them, Jenkins's anguished wails faded, but the shadows lingered, rippling with malicious intent. Each echo underscored the unnerving thought that perhaps, just perhaps, Tammy's willingness to give in might be the only way out. What awaited them on the other side of this deceptive light? Dr. Willard felt an ache deep in his chest as they surged into the light, leaving behind Jenkins's torment and unsuccessful attempts. The glow encased them, illuminating the void and wrapping around them like a warm embrace. But the warmth felt far too unsteady to trust. Beneath it, he felt an echoing chill of loss, and a mixture of regret and guilt coiled tightly in the pit of his stomach. "Look!" the girl shouted, breaking through his reverie. They came upon a clearing where vibrant colors danced in sparkling rays of light, drawing them in with promises of healing and safety. But Dr. Willard's heart was not at ease. The memory of Tammy's frightened face haunted him like a shadow. "We left her," he murmured, the words leaving a bitter taste on his tongue. The girl turned to him, eyes fierce yet understanding. "She made her choice. And if we stay here too long, we may lose our own light." The urgency in her voice snapped him back to the present. They had to keep going. But at what cost? Feeling the thick tension around him, Dr. Willard pressed on. "What do we do now?" he asked, anxiety gnawing beneath the surface. The girl's glow pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. "There is a path," she guided, pointing toward a shimmering trail that snaked deeper into the brightness. "But it will test us. Each of us has to confront our fears to move forward." He felt a tremor of apprehension, knowing what lurked beneath their resolve. As they continued the journey, memories of the shadows threatened to claw their way in. The specter of Jenkins still echoed painfully, his cries still rang in Dr. Willard's mind, urgent, desperate for rescue. "Maybe we should go back." Dr. Willard's voice wavered, the thought pulling at him. If they could just help Jenkins, save him, perhaps they could reclaim what they had lost. The girl shook her head, the determination in her eyes unwavering. Going back means succumbing to the darkness. This is about moving towards healing, not dragging ourselves into despair. You must let go. Let go. The words bit into him. They throbbed as if he'd pulled the string from an unspooling yarn. But amid the swirling chaos of his thoughts, a flicker of clarity broke through. If he focused on saving only one person, he might lose sight of everyone else. If Jenkins was truly lost to the shadows, could they afford to abandon their own purposes? Shaking off the echoes of his doubts, he chose to believe in the light. All right. Let us go. As they marched forward, the luminous trail around them pulsed in beats of hope. Emotions intertwined, threatening to spill over. They stepped across the threshold into a new realm, wherein hues of gold danced around them in harmonious melodies, whispering promises of renewal. But then, a familiar voice shattered the tranquility. Dr. Willard. Help me. It was Jenkins, a phantom beckoning from the shadows, his hands reaching out as if seeking purchase. The hollow desperation stopped Dr. Willard in his tracks. No! The girl pushed forward, fearing the grip of despair fueled by helplessness. We can't go back. You know what the darkness can do. Tammy! We can get her back. His voice wavered as he fought against the tidal wave of agony pulling at him. Each scream tore through him, like felt curses marked by silence. His heart twisted painfully in his chest, the weight of the moment crashing down. Let her go. She is lost to them. The girl implored. The more you look back, the more they'll try to claiming you. Each flicker of light indicated how close he was to being swallowed whole. But the sound of Jenkins' terror echoed again, sending another surge of guilt coursing through Dr. Willard's veins. You can't save them by losing yourself. You have the strength to move forward. The girl insisted. No. I can't abandon him. He raged against the instinct to flee. But the truth coiled around him like a snake, squeezing until breath was hard to find. What if I could help him just one last time? Think of where you are? She shouted, desperation echoing in her tone. Do you want to relive those horrors? Can you really save him? Without hurting yourself? Her words pierced through, and a moment of clarity emerged from the flood. Perhaps, to save someone else, he needed to embrace his own truth. He felt the struggle within him, a painful tug between love's call and the whisper of survival. The ground quaked as shadows swirled around them, darkness gnashing and eager to pull him down. Dr. Willard, trust me. The girl pushed again. You must let go of what weighs you down. Summoning all his courage, the weight of heartache held him in place. But this time he felt something shift. With a shaky breath, he turned his back on the darkness, allowing their past and regrets to simmer down, letting love for Tammy and confidence in himself reign over despair. I'm moving forward, he yelled, igniting the fire within. The shadows screeched in agitation, swirling in a frenzy. The girl grasped his hand, and together they pushed into the brightness. The shadows writhed and screamed, angry at being forsaken, but their grasp slipped away. The light encased them, felt like a protective embrace, guiding them to a rebirth of hope. And they broke through, emerging on the other side, panting but alive, surrounded by an explosion of vibrant blooms, the very essence of vitality. In that moment, Dr. Willard realized they had faced something that could devour them whole, but instead had infused them with a newfound purpose. They stood a little taller together, the memories of Jenkins and Tammy now a bittersweet reminder of connection and sacrifice. He knew the darkness would always exist, lurking beneath the surface, preying on their fear. But they had conquered it, learned the power of choice, love, and letting go. He turned to the girl. What now? This is not the end, but the beginning, she said, her radiance illuminating the fresh path ahead. They had choices to make and stories to share. Hope reignited, and they walked onward into the blooming horizon, prepared to guide others toward the light, forever aware of their power to face the shadows together. And as they journeyed on, the call to action rang in Dr. Willard's heart. "We can't lose sight of love," he whispered, determination stirring. They were ready for whatever awaited them next. Now, as you reflect on this journey, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now. It really helps us out with the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this conclusion. What did you think about the choices they made? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is crucial, and only true fans understand how important it is to stand together.